Hello everybody, it's Claire with a project for Scrap FX. This is my second project for the month of April. So today I'm working in my Squared Illusions journal, and guess what? For a change, I've not added any gesso to the page, but I am starting off using the Waves Collage tissue paper, just adding some of that onto the background using some gel matte medium. This is a really pretty collage paper. I love the lines on it, and I actually end up adding some more of this onto the page once I've got going. So then I'm going straight onto the page. As I said, there's no gesso, and I'm using Dina Wakley Sky first, and then Turquoise and Ocean as well. I'm just blending the colours down that sort of through the centre of the page, and then I'm using lapis as well. This is such a beautiful rich blue colour. I'm using quite a dry brush initially just to swipe the colours across the page. Then this is a fantastic stencil, also by Scrap FX. This is called the Leafy Seaweed stencil, and I'm using the ocean paint and a sponge, and I'm just sponging this on around the edges of the paint that I've added to the page. It's just giving an idea of some texture. I love the pattern on this new stencil. I think I will be using it lots more. Then I'm using Mineral and another new Scrap FX stencil. This one is called Circles in Circles, and of course anyone that follows my channel, you'll know I love circles. There's not many art journalists that don't love circles, to be fair. This one is really pretty as well. So this is also from Scrap FX. It's a sun, sand and sea wordlet, and in the bottle I'm just adding some black paint to that, and that's going to help that stand out a little bit on my page. Then I'm adding some more of the Waves collage paper back onto the journal page because it kind of disappeared a little bit. You can see it in some places, but this is all about building up the layers on the page. It's something that I really love to do when I'm journaling, is add more and more layers, and it really builds up the interest in the page. So again, I'm using gel medium and just popping that on. Then I'm using some white acrylic paint. It's quite an opaque one, and just a very dry brush, and I'm just blending out the edges of the paint that I've added to the page, just kind of pushing those away a little bit. So the idea really is that the bottle's going to go in the top right corner, and it's going to look like the waves are pouring out of the bottle. That was my plan. So I'm kind of smearing that paint, smudging it a bit, blending it in. Then I'm just using a baby white just to soften some of the areas and move away where I've added too much. So then I'm using this fantastic 9-dot stamp from Scrap FX, again with some white paint. And then I mixed my own sort of lilac-y colour, so I added a bit of Dina Wakley Blackberry into the white paint I had left and added some stamps with those as well. Then I'm sticking this bottle on. I'm just using some white PVA glue, and there we go, that's going to stick up in that top corner. So I just had to hold it still for a little while. So this is the Beach Grass stamp, also from Scrap FX, and I'm using the Stays On ink in Cactus Green. And I'm also using the reverse stamping technique using the gel plate. So I'm stamping it onto there and then stamping it from the gel plate onto my page. Next I'm using the seaweed stamp and Stays On ink in teal blue, and just stamping some of those patterns onto the page as well. So these are the mini shells wood chip, and I'm just popping them out of the piece that they're in. And using Buff, which is a Dina Wakley colour, I'm just adding, actually it might have been sand, I think it was sand, in keeping with the theme. I'm just painting some colour onto those. Once that was done and they were dry, I stuck those onto the page using some PVA glue. So this is a fine nozzle applicator. It's just got watered down white acrylic paint, and I'm just kind of doodling some lines and dots onto the page, just adding more layers of interest. Then I'm using some Pitt marker pens, and I'm just adding the lines back onto the shells just to help those pop out a little bit. Just adding in some of the places where there would be some shadow. and some of the lines that had disappeared underneath the paint. Then I'm using a micron pen and I'm just adding in some more detail and doodly lines and dots onto these little shells. Just adding a bit more interest and helping them pop out a little bit. They actually look quite difficult to see now looking at them on the screen, but in real life they do stand out quite well on the page. I guess if you wanted them to really pop out, you could paint them yellow colours. That would really help them pop a little bit more. Then talking about yellow, I am just using a yellow. This is an Amsterdam acrylic, I think it's Azo yellow. I'm just watering it down with my splatter brush. I'm just adding some splashes of that. Then I'm adding my words. So I drew a couple of lines coming from the bottle, starting off narrow at the neck of the bottle and widening out. And then I did those in pencil. And I'm just going to add my letters in so that they're gradually getting smaller and smaller as they're going towards the bottle. Dreams are made of, and then it finishes sun, sand and sea. And especially after the year that we've all had, how nice it is when we can go to the coast and enjoy being on the beach again, enjoying that little bit of freedom. So I'm just doing a little bit of mark making, adding some dots onto the page, and then I'm just adding some sort of kind of shadow lines with this white gel pen onto the lettering. And there we go, there's the finished page. So as you can see, there's lots of layers making up this page, and the colours, apart from the splash of yellow, were all kept in a fairly similar palette, the little pop of green for the beach grass. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again for my next project.